BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey, I'm Sam. I'm your thirsty guy for BodyBags. This week, I'm doing Founders Day. Really nice movie. Really interesting movie. It came out last year. I think around the same time Thanksgiving came out. And they both feel very similar. But ultimately, I would say that this movie is more political. In the sense of like politics, right? Political, right? Is more of a metaphor of right now. Especially with the candidates that are about this movie. Very kind of metaphoric to how it is right now. And I just found it very interesting, this movie. I don't want to really spoil much of it, but I guess the only way I can go through this movie is by spoiling it. If you don't want this movie spoiled, go watch it. It's on Tubi. It's an hour, 40 minutes. It's a little longer because of the commercials. I would say you should really watch this movie before you listen to me talk. And I get it at the very beginning, like the first half of the movie, some of you might be like, oh my gosh, what am I watching? It's like the worst thing ever. I gotta turn it off. But just keep going with it. Keep going with the movie. And by the time the movie's all said and done, you'll be like, you know what? I'm very happy I actually sat through and watched it. Or at the very least, you're like, I understand now. So this movie's about, it follows this small town, right? And it follows this girl. And death is about the air, around the air kind of thing, right? Just a couple of people here and there get, killed, and it's like people that she knew, and then it's like, what's up, pal? In this town, there's an election about to come, and the two candidates, there's the one that's already there, right? The mayor, right? The mayor that's already in power. And then there's the guy that's like, hey, I want to be the mayor because you're doing a bad job, blah, 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 right? And all the death kind of seems to follow... Well, I already said, that part. Effectively, essentially, by the end of the movie, the reason why everyone who did die in this movie, why everyone died, was because effectively of politics, right? Spoiler alert, by the end of the movie, the two candidates die, they get killed, and the big idea is that, hey, we want to restart this town because both sides, they say a lot of stuff, but when it's all said and done, they're not really doing much, they're not really helping, they're just, just saying, they don't really care, the both sides, they're just in it for themselves, they don't care about we the people kind of thing. And so the idea is they kill off them and, everyone in that kind of hierarchy of, like, if they go, then who's the mayor, and if they go, who's the mayor kind of thing. And, it got a little confusing near the end, but I guess when it's all said and done, it made a lot of sense. And it's basically restarting. And I would say, hey, that's pretty interesting because of how it is right now. I would say, I don't know how political I want to get. In short terms, how it is right now, it's not really that good. Can you fix it by voting? Maybe. But I guess the question is it too big to fix? Is it, is it already, like, out of control? Is there no other peaceful way of going about it, right? And that's, kind of what this movie talks about. It's, it gets to a point where the only way, or at least, from their point of view, the only way that you can change is by very extreme force. In which case, might be the only way, but, you'd like to think you could vote to change. It's just, is it really going to change anything much? But it's, when it is all said and when it is all done, this is how life has been for the last, 20, 40 years, right? The red guy's running, the blue guy's running, and they're both saying a lot of stuff, maybe even pointing fingers at each other, but when it's all said and done, like, life as you know it in the moment doesn't really change. I remember talking to my sister some time ago, and she was telling me, and she's older than me, she was telling me that when 2008 was around the corner, that she was really nervous if OB won, because of like all the fear that was kind of like, oh no, if he wins then so much bad stuff's gonna happen. But when he won, and when, you know, his term started going about, life as she knew it at the time wasn't really getting that bad. Now, to be fair and honest, she ended up going overseas for a bit near the end of it, so she probably didn't really notice how, you know, point being, looks can be deceiving, and things can change, and sometimes it can for the worse. But I think the only way that you could really make change on a big scale is if you start on the bottom and try to change what you can change, which would be your local government. So your sheriff, your mayor, that's something that you can go and change, and then you go from there. But about this movie, I just thought it was really interesting. And then, like, when you found out who the killers were, it was very, very interesting. I thought it was really underrated. I was kind of surprised when I went on IMDb and saw the reviews. It's like the 10 out of 10s were how I was kind of going about it, and the 1 out of 10s, like, didn't even finish the movie. It's like they watched the first half and then left or turned it off, or they watched all of it and was like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Kind of like they were expecting it to be some great slasher movie or not political. But I mean, everything's political now, and if it's not, it's going to be. Like, there's like YouTubers out there that, like, when they started about, they were like gaming, and what are they now? They're political people now, and like all you really know about them are like politics, and it's kind of sad. But that's kind of the nature of the world, and, you know, YouTube and all that stuff. It's like you're gonna get political at some point because all your kids are gonna grow up. You know, say you're a Minecraft YouTuber, your audience tends to be children. 10 years go by, you're still a YouTuber. Those children are starting to get into politics, or, you know, they're starting to grow up, so they're starting to pay attention to stuff. So, yeah, all that to say, this movie was a solid, pretty good movie. The only I would say the only bad thing about this movie was the effects. Now, there's something else about the movie, but you know what? That's just how it is right now. So, I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't care. Like, cool. Whatever, man. Go have fun, I guess. The only bad thing is that there were some moments where they used CGI for the blood, or, like, you know, how the body looked. And it was like, apparently this is an indie movie, so if that's so, then that makes sense, but, you know, still. I mean, my favorite thing about this movie, other than, you know, the whole, like, message of the movie, I really liked the mask the killer used. It was different and unique. And, of course, the weapon of choice ultimately wasn't really, you know, what you thought it was. Like, when I first heard about this movie, it was around the time Thanksgiving came out. And I was kind of wanting to go watch it in the theater, but ultimately didn't because of, you know, life as it is right now. So, you know, the look of that movie can be deceiving because you're thinking, oh, that's the weapon the entire time. Nah, kinda, not really. It is, but it's, you know, a little deceiving. I thought it was just that, but it ended up being like, you know, you press a button and a knife came out kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay. But there were some kills that used it. I thought that was fun. That was cool, fun stuff. But yeah, there was an actor in this movie that reminded me a lot of, I forget his name, but he plays the father in The Fog. You know, the original The Fog. That actor was in The Ritual. You know, the 4 or 5 old guys that go camping and, you know, someone's watching them kind of thing. They're not alone out there. That actor. There's an actor in this movie that looked really similar to him. But, of course, I don't think it's him. I don't even think that guy's alive anymore. And if he is, then, like, wow, that actually might be him, but I don't think he's alive anymore. No offense. Old guy, and a lot of people are dying nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I would say go watch it. And if you're still here and you haven't watched the movie yet, then like I get it, but like I'm not doing a justice to this movie. You really need to go watch it yourself to understand fully and better what I'm thinking anyway. I'm just giving you a spoonful of sugar, essentially. And I'm hoping that's enough to get you to be like, you know what, maybe I should go watch this movie. But anyway, I'm Sam. I'm your thirsty guy for BodyBags. I did Founders Day, and you should watch it. I think so anyway. And I'll see y'all next week. Oh man, I cannot wait for next week. Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. Next week's one. It's one of my favorites. But anyway, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's one of his favorites. It must be some old classic. And it's like, oh, it's this movie. What? Anyway, I'll see y'all next week. Bye.